Hi, Todd VanDenburg here with VanDenburg Capital Management and another Uncommon Sense update. So last week the markets finished up on average about 3.5% across the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P. It's a nice week, but we're not going to get too excited over it, just like we didn't get too upset about the 10% correction that we saw just about a month ago. This stuff is normal volatility, and so we're not going to get too overly happy or too sad. We're just going to continue to pay attention to the fundamentals and make sure that we are making sound investment decisions. But there are some facts that are sort of behind this recent volatility, especially last week. One of them had to do with the resignation of President Trump's chief economic advisor. Now, if I'd have asked most people 3 or 4 weeks ago, who is President Trump's chief economic advisor, many people would have said they have no idea. And in fact, when that person would get in front of the media prior to last week, they would often ridicule him for his economic theories, but now he's resigned, and the media seems to believe that without him in the White House, our country's headed for economic collapse because somehow now his economic theories are the sole source of why our economy continues to improve. I don't believe much of any of that, in that he's just one guy, he's got some theories. Our economy existed before him and it will exist after him. And so that's not really the problem. But it was rumored that he resigned because he didn't believe in President Trump's recent tariffs on steel and on aluminum. Now, there's a reason behind some of the tariffs, and we can disagree on whether tariffs are good or bad. There's people on both sides of the equation. But sort of the premise is that we in the United States haven't really gotten a fair shake from some of our overseas trading partners. They've been applying tariffs to our goods when they hit their shores for quite some time, and we really haven't been treating them the same way here. And as a result, it's become cheaper to actually manufacture goods overseas and ship them to the United States than to manufacture them in the United States. And that led to this belief that, we just don't make anything in the U.S. anymore. And so I want to show you a quick chart that shows that if you look at the number of people that we employ in the manufacturing sector, it has clearly gone down, no doubt. But what most people don't pay attention to is that over the same time period, the manufacturing output in the United States has skyrocketed. So we actually are making more in the United States today than ever before. We're just doing it with fewer people. Now, if you're one of the people that held those jobs, you're not happy that, we don't have that job anymore. But it's not the end of the world, and it certainly doesn't mean that we don't make anything here, because we actually do. And I want to show one more chart. It's really interesting, and it explains just in one picture what happens when we do more with less. So this is a chart of corn production per acre in the United States. And what you see is that over time, especially since like 1950, we've been producing more corn per acre than ever before, and corn is about as cheap as it can get. So what's happening here, right? What's happening is that we are making more with fewer people, and those jobs are being displaced. And this happens every decade. If you go back to the 1900s, you can find that buggy whip manufacturers were displaced when people no longer needed horse and carriage. You can find all kinds of times in our history when people have been displaced because technology or improvements sort of does away with their job. So what happens over time is that they gain new skills, new generations come up, new jobs get created, and that's where we are right now. With an unemployment rate of 4%, there are plenty of employers who are looking for people and are actually willing to train them if they're a good employee, if they show initiative and that they show up on time, things like that. So, these things that have caused some of this volatility are really not the end of the world. And when you think about the premise that we don't make things here anymore because it's so easy to make them overseas, that's what this tariff is trying to address. Let's make it harder for the people to dump their cheap goods on our shores, and maybe that will increase employment in the United States. Now, there's no telling how far this goes. We could end up in a multi-year all-out trade war, but we should also not forget that we are the biggest consumer, biggest importer of goods on the planet. So much like Amazon is doing right now with the suppliers to Whole Foods, Amazon is the biggest purchaser of those goods that Whole Foods has been buying for a long, long time. And Amazon is going back to those suppliers and saying, we need a little better deal. And since those suppliers are sort of beholden to their relationship with Whole Foods and now Amazon, Amazon's getting a better deal. So think about our trade in the same light. We're going back to these countries to try to renegotiate better deals, and we're trying to do it from a position of strength. If this gets to the point where things really start to get bad, or prices start to skyrocket, we will say more about it and we might have a different position. But right now we're at the early stages, and it's no guarantee that this is going to end up to be the train wreck that many are predicting. So that was your update. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like, give us a share. We certainly appreciate it. And we'll be back in another couple days with another Uncommon Sense update. Thank you for watching.